Successful AI-driven startups.
I'm really looking forward to this panel. I am expecting to learn a lot because I work in crypto, I really live and breathe crypto, and I have to admit I've kind of been resisting falling down the AI rabbit hole for way too long. But the further we go into this this new tech realm, I think you just can't avoid it. Like AI is just everywhere now. So I'm really looking forward to learning from you guys. Before we start, do you want to each just introduce yourself and maybe explain a little bit about how you intersect with the AI space? Because I think all of us really come from that Web3 space. So I'm interested to know the crossover into AI for each of you.
Maybe I can kick it off. So my name is Anton Golub. I'm Chief Business Officer at Freedex. We're a next-generation trading platform where both newcomers and professional experienced traders can trade cryptocurrencies, spot, perpetuals, do staking, copy trading, and so on. Now, in terms of using AI, I would make a differentiation in the crypto industry where you are actually using AI as a tool within your Web3 when your crypto business, and then also attempts of a AI native business within the crypto space. So, coming from an exchange, I can just say is that today, pretty much every crypto exchange uses AI for very specific processes. So I'll give you a couple of examples. One that most can relate it to is actually customer support. So today, if you have a challenge or you have a question or there's friction in the trading experience, when you type in your question in that chat, in the support channel, the first reply is usually from an AI actually. So they will try to resolve your problem in a very specific way. Usually what you are allowed to communicate to the client within that first steps is actually very narrow, right? Because you don't want the client to have a full AI experience if it's not the right one, right? But these first few messages are actually exchanged with an AI or a chatbot, how you want to call it, and only later a human would pick up the conversation. So that's one clear application. The second one I mentioned, copy trading. Today you have your own account, but you can copy trades from another person, right? But then that person can be an AI, and you can have then an AI profile, let's say, of your conservative grandma, who maybe trades once every couple of days and just buys Bitcoin, or you can have an AI profile of an experienced, aggressive, volatile trader, right? And maybe finally, last example would be in AML, right? So today, when you send your cryptos to a trading platform, they're actually scanned where they came from, right? And this is usually a regulatory requirement that you have that trail where the assets came from, and that they came from a legitimate sources. And again, this is actually done by AI in a sense of AI says high-risk assets, mid-risk, or low-risk. So this is another application. So, but now talking about strictly AI native businesses in crypto, these are the so-called AI agents, right? And we had many of them. Today you have platforms like Virtuals, for instance, where you can actually spawn your AI agent, and that AI agent does something within the crypto space. It can, for instance, tweet, so it can post on X. It can maybe manage a portfolio, or it can maybe trade. And this is where we had a lot of excitement, a lot of hype. Those of us who remember just a few months back how popular Virtuals was, Cookie, and a couple of these other platforms, I think we got ahead of ourselves there. There was a steep correction in the meantime, and slowly we need to catch up there.
That was an amazing overview. We're going to have to come back to a lot of that and dig deeper. But Andrea, how about you introduce yourself? And I'd love to know how you are touching on that AI space as well.
So I'm Andrea from Alimorong. I'm the tech lead of ICP, the Internet Computer Protocol. I've been dealing with AI since college. It was actually my thesis. And I've been dealing more on the audio side, so data processing, data signal processing to be specific. So I've been into AI ever since, usually when you're coding a lot, it actually helps you when you can do it more, you can streamline the process. It's hard to debug, to search on Stack Overflow whenever you encounter a problem and anything. And when I was in fourth year, I encountered ChatGPT. I think it was the earliest version of ChatGPT. And I was fascinated about that. But by the time, we are already learning about machine learning. So we learned basically the convolutional neural networks and even the other concepts of machine learning. So we are already there, but not just in-depth enough for us to create our own chatbot. So when ChatGPT was released, it was basically the proof of concept that there's so much more to machine learning. That's just determining between a chihuahua versus a cookie, right? So there's so much more about that. So about my thesis, it's actually about data signal processing. We determine, because you can compare or you can use your voice as your biometrics for several accounts. We already have several authentications right now. But we created a mobile app that can authenticate it using your voice. But it has, the edge would be, it can differentiate an AI between a human voice. So we've been dealing with those projects. We reached out to University of the Philippines, the several companies around there, and they're actually surprised that we are already there. And that's when I found out that AI is going to be the next big thing. So we had an in-depth knowledge about AI, so why not make something more? So we joined several hackathons. And that's the reason why we come up with Daffy and Orbit Yield, which is a yield aggregator. So yeah, then from now and then here we are, still finding out a lot of things, and yeah, we're still learning more. Thank you.
Amazing. I look forward to hearing more about that too. So Daniel, how does AI show up in your work?
So Simplicity Group is an advisory firm, and we help streamline some processes for clients. So the first way we actually got involved with AI was looking at how we can use it internally to improve our processes. One of the main things was the research side. So we have 6 analysts in-house, and by actually utilizing AI, the amount of work we can produce increases tenfold. So that was the sort of first step into AI. From the other side, one of the things our analysts do is actually DD for VCs and investors. And during the AI hype of about 6 to 9 months ago, pretty much all of the deal flow they were getting from investors was AI related. And the most common feedback was just, this is a copy-paste of something that already exists, just with a crypto wrapper. So that was sort of the introduction to AI from the crypto side, and from the actual business side, it was just us trying to streamline processes.
Got it. Okay. Each of you just touched on this, so I'd love to spend a little bit more time unpacking this. We've seen AI added to pretty much every pitch deck, over the last couple of years or so. In your view, what separates a truly AI-driven startup from someone who's just, riding the wave?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's natural actually that people are adding AI to their business. I'm very old compared to a lot of you here, but in the early days of the internet, if you used an email, it was like a big achievement, right? It was like, I can reply within a couple of minutes, and they can reply back to me, right? So I think in that sense, it's not unnatural that you want to use AI within your existing business, but it doesn't make you AI native, right? So to be honest, this is just my personal opinion. I would consider Perplexity as an AI native company, or ChatGPT, or DeepSeek, right? Because they're literally the ones building the AI tools for all of us to use. I 100% agree with Daniel. Many of the crypto AI projects were just wrappers, or in many cases not even that. An AI tool that posts on X, and then you tokenize that with arguable utility, and then saying this is an AI-driven or an AI-native crypto startup, I would doubt that, right? But for instance, I really want to say I'm a big fan of ICP. I watched yesterday your main event in Zurich, where you actually launched Caffeine AI. Did I pronounce it correctly? So it's basically a way how you can spawn with AI dApps, so decentralized application on ICP, on Definity, right? So so that for me is like even though ICP is a crypto, it's a blockchain, right? It's a layer 1, but I think Caffeine AI, this intersection between them using AI natively within the blockchain to launch a dApp that they use a smart contract, for me this was like okay, I'm very impressed with that. And it happened just yesterday, so I think it's like a very fresh news. I would love to hear more about that if you want to share it, but I think like for us crypto companies, most of us could not argue we are AI native companies. I think that's just a fact.
Would you guys like to add to that or disagree?
I think Anton covered everything, to be honest. I think when we look at crypto, as he said, outside of some of the bigger ecosystems, no one's really looking to be an AI or actually an AI company. But I do think I am interested to see what the bigger ecosystems come up with. I didn't know about ICP's introduction of AI, but I think a lot of the chains will be looking to implement it, and I wonder if it will all be sort of what happened with the AI agents where everything's the same, or if we will see some innovative sort of implementations of AI from them.
Well, let's talk about ICP and AI, because my next question was going to be around, what kind of use cases you're seeing emerge that could only happen in terms of AI and blockchain going together. So, Andrea, why don't you tell us about what you've recently launched? It sounds amazing. You had a great intro there.
So for ICP, it's actually a great kickstart if you don't have an overview about AI. We're actually partnering with DevCon, earlier speakers or DOM. We've been conducting a lot of code camps to introduce people about ICP, how you basically deploy your own project. So it's a really user-friendly per se. So what I can say is that, to answer your question, to differentiate what AI startups, for me, on the tech side, basically, if your AI it has to be the core logic of your project. It doesn't, it's not supposed to be just a UI enhancement. For example, you got a project, and I'm just gonna integrate an API for this using AI. I'm gonna use ChatGPT on this because it's gonna be cool for everyone to hear. It's gonna be AI enhanced, your title for that. So it's not just about that. I heard one question from our previous hackathon in Polkadot. I think it's Sir Eman mentioned, if we remove your AI on your project, what's your project is gonna be? So is it gonna be useless? So if your project is very dependent on AI, like it utilizes the metadata, you use the data to predict something, or you're gonna have like a resource prediction, network allocations, it's gonna be useful. Then your project is AI native project. That's what I can say. And in terms of Web3, basically, AI is filling some gaps for Web3 because imagine trust and some AI, it's gonna build something new that's very innovative for some, and it can also be used. For example, your project is, the technology is about yield aggregator. Maybe next time your project is gonna be used as a third party. So that's very useful in terms of AI and Web3 intersection.
Anton, Dan, did you want to add to that? Is there any really interesting use cases that you're seeing at the intersection of Web3 and AI?
Yeah, I think a very futuristic one related to AI agents. So in the future, we imagine that AI agents interact. That makes sense, right? And maybe my AI agent would interact with Daniel's, right? And maybe there would even transaction would have to happen there, right? So I would use, my AI agent would use your service. The question there is, how would that transaction actually happen? How would my AI agent pay for your AI agent? And then, obviously, AI agents cannot have bank accounts. Yep. They cannot have wallets where you have to KYC and onboard and all of that stuff. So why not actually then use the blockchain? AI agent has its wallet, has its address. We even don't go close to the traditional finance industry, and we don't use fiat currency. We actually use stable coins, right? Or decentralized stable coins, maybe DAI, for instance. And then my AI agent pays for Daniel's AI agent service through a wallet on the blockchain using a decentralized stablecoin. So I think like this is the part where we are imagining. Now, why do I say imagining it, right? Because we're not there yet, right? It's something maybe far into the future, but the use case is very clear because AI agents don't have a personality, they don't have an identity at the moment. They don't have a right to have a bank account to pay for Daniel's service, So I think that could be a clear use case, but in the future.
I actually think that's such an interesting one too, because being here in the Philippines with the context of this conversation, I think in early crypto, a lot of people were very excited about the idea of banking the unbanked with crypto. It was really people who didn't have access to that traditional financial infrastructure would be using crypto to solve their problems and basically empower themselves economically. But now we're seeing that AI agents are also facing that similar problem. No bank's going to give an AI agent a bank account. So perhaps they will be the new banking of the unbanked. Daniel, I'd love to ask you, because I know you're working with Web3 projects on their tokenomics. Do you think that, I've heard about this idea of autonomous tokenomics, with AI being able to help token economies be smarter, more adaptable. Is that a thing? Like, is it in the near future?
Ultimately, AI is only as good as the data set, and I think right now we don't have the data set for good tokenomics or good token economies to be designed. You can look at most of the launches that are happening lately. Not to call out Binance, but Binance Alpha is launching a lot of projects, and pretty much everything that has launched in the last month has gone down 50%. Before then, most projects seem to dump, and there is no clear consensus on what is a good token economy or what good tokenomics are in the industry. So I think it's quite hard for AI to be able to help design that in the short term. In the future, as more standards are set and there's a clearer vision in terms of what is actually a good economy or tokenomics, I think AI will be able to help. But when we look at AI is, I forgot the exact term, but there's like a hierarchy of sort of staff you can have. Level 1 is people who are basically useless, who can't do anything. Level 2 is task completion. Level 3 is problem solvers. Level 4 is system setters. And AI falls on the task completion level. Like, there isn't an AI that can really go out there and be a problem solver or set systems at the minute. And when it comes to token economies and tokenomics, I think it is more of like a level 3, level 4 task. So first of all, I think the data set isn't good enough. And second of all, I just don't think AI is quite there yet.
All right, one last question about use cases. Anton, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you've worked on things like tokenization of real-world assets and exchange infrastructure. So how are you seeing AI change the way that we hold, trade, price digital assets? Where is it at now, and where do you see that going in the future?
So I see an AI a great way to keep exchange clients more engaged, right? So running an exchange, I can say that the worst client is the client that you don't have, but the second, not the best client, is the one who actually onboards in your exchange and that just doesn't do anything ever, right? So that would be called a not engaged client, right, in that sense. So I think AI can help there both in terms of support when it comes to engagement, but I think also very importantly, natively embedded education, right? Because many times when we are actually onboarded on these platforms, we just look at these platforms and we think like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do there, right? Or it looks like a jungle, when you open some of these exchanges, especially the apps, right? They have so many buttons, so many different services, so many different tokens. You even mentioned like many of them carry their own risks, right? So with education, you can then, an interactive one that can come through an AI agent, that can help you get a more engaged client, but a client who is a long-lasting one, who is with you for a long time because maybe he's profitable rather than being unprofitable. So now on the tokenomics side, I agree here with Daniel. I think it's not that easy, and it's about the data set actually. And I think many times I use personally AI in the day-to-day life, and I think many times the AI agents or AI in general is missing the context. The context means what is the surrounding environment that led me to my problem, right? So because when Daniel said, well, we had a launchpad and the tokens are down 50%, if you just tell that to AI, they will say, okay, so let's make them go up. But he doesn't understand the context. It might be tokenomics. It might be launching the token at too high a valuation. Maybe it's a market maker in the back who is not aligned. And this is the context that's missing, right? But I see a big advancement there. Today, if you use ChatGPT, for instance, and if you provide it a lot of context, and if you turn on the feature that's called deep research, then the AI actually is searching for that context to provide you the best possible advice. That's what I like a lot.
I saw you nodding, Andrea. Did you want to add to that? Or you?
No, just actually agree with what Anton said, because it's actually retrieval augmented generation, if I remember correctly. So you basically fine-tune your own data for it to be trained in order. It's basically feeding a document. Then later on, I'm going to ask you about that document. So no need for me to read it. Is that right? Okay.
And just to add, this ChatGPT today actually has this memory feature. So you can even say certain things to ChatGPT and then you tell him, remember this. And he basically then writes it into its internal memory, which can be what you are about, who you are as a person, the topics that you discuss, specific opinions that you have. And I find this very useful because you can go between sessions and he knows who you are, how you think.
Just to jump in there, I don't think you even need to ask it to remember. One of my friends asked ChatGPT like give me a psychological profile breakdown of myself based on all of my questions. And ChatGPT literally gave like an essay, and it was quite accurate about the person. Like it specifically said like what are their trigger points. Yeah, just a little sidetrack on AI, but I don't even think you need to hit.
Some people find that a little bit creepy. Like, how do you guys think about that? Do you think that's exciting or creepy?
I think there's an opportunity there for decentralization and for blockchain technology, in a sense, decentralizing or owning your own data, right? Because we said AI today is very much driven by the quality of the data input. And obviously, the more data we give him about ourselves, the better it can provide the output, right? But the question is there, who owns that data once I actually provide it for analysis to AI? And I think, again, ICP here is one of the leaders whenever I talk to people in ICP, that they see the opportunity for both decentralized, true decentralized application, but then true decentralized data ownership, which is the fuel for AI.
Just wanted to add regarding that with what Anton said regarding to where does our data gonna go after we input? Because our goal when we prompt in ChatGPT is we just want to get answers. We somehow disregard the fact that we're actually feeding. That's the reason why some companies are actually banning ChatGPT on their system, because some employees are just gonna feed information and it's gonna disregard the fact that your company details are gonna be leaked or something. So I think it's a very interesting discussion, really.
Let's talk more about data. I'm hearing that come up a lot. How are you thinking about, I guess, new business models for value creation, value capture in these decentralized ecosystems? Like you said, you know, who does own that data? Obviously in Web3, we like to think of things as decentralized, and we would definitely champion the decentralized systems, rewarding the user, true digital property rights. But do you actually see that playing out today? Are people really building for that? You know, how do you think that that's going to happen in terms of like who owns their data, who gets to supply it, who gets rewarded for it? Is it safe? There's a lot there, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, data is one of the key value propositions around which you can create a business model. And I'll just give you one example. I originally come from traditional finance, from the hedge fund industry, and I was a high-frequency trader. So that means we analyzed a lot of data, and then we created algorithms that traded by themselves millions of times per day. Now, since I was doing that, one of the key inputs for us was high-quality, cleaned data from all of these exchanges, right? And those exchanges charged us a ton of money each month to have access to such data, right? And we were not allowed to resell it afterwards. We just had a license to use it, make our trading models, and then, you know, we have to pay them again. But to be honest, I know that the exchanges were making a strong business case out of that, but actually nobody was interested in buying those data beyond professional trading firms. Like if you were a big hedge fund, you paid for it. You were a big trader, market maker, you paid for it. But otherwise, normal day-to-day people who were doing investments, they never went to an exchange and said, hey, let me pay you $100,000 per month to have access to all of this data that's happening in the financial markets. I think the same will be for AI. I think if you're a business that actually structure its revenue model around the data, you will have an opportunity then to buy it from somebody, and somebody will make money on that. But in general, otherwise, I think nobody will care. And I think also the same way you're not paid by the exchange where you trade to give them your trading data such that they can resell it. The same way, I don't think you will be easily rewarded by these data companies that collect your data for some AI wrapper to pay for it. I think that will just not happen. Businesses that they make their revenues around AI, they will pay for it, otherwise nobody will pay for it.
Andrea, Daniel, how much do you see these data sets being underpinned by true Web3 principles?
I think right now people can already sort of run private models using the LLM technology. I have some friends who have like specific systems, like computers, and they just use it to run a LLM. They store all their data on it. And I think if people do want to keep their data private, that's the way to do it. I don't necessarily think it will go onto the blockchain, or the blockchain's a solution here. I think there's bigger problems with regards to AI that for AI to be implemented like everywhere and like properly and reach its potential, I don't think data is the issue. especially not like the privacy or security of data. I think these companies want to scale fast. They just want to get use cases, and yeah, like users don't care. Ultimately, people don't care about decentralization. People don't care about being safe or keeping their data secure. Everyone still uses Google. Most people still have the same password across every platform. I think it's just
convenience
human
always
nature.
wins, right?
Yeah, convenience will win again, I think.
What do you think, Andrea?
I think regarding this data, there's a huge advantage for businesses for those who are data driven. We can just say with great data comes with great responsibility, because those business who are very data driven, you can actually create insights from those, like where do we put, because I've been dealing with AWS ever since. So it's AWS knows how to manage your data, or else they're gonna be out of business. So just regarding that, they know how to manage in terms of the responsibility of AWS, but at the same time, you as your own business, you need to know how to manage your own data. So what are the relevant data that I need to gather? Just like Daniel said earlier, for the data set, for it to be worked, you have to annotate it, you have to divide it, to validate and testing, for the LLMs to be much more efficient, and yeah, and it goes something like that.
Maybe I can just add, there's an opportunity, I think, because we're talking about private data, I think it's an opportunity maybe on the public data. The same way we were actually optimizing your website for search engine optimization, so it pops out on the top when you went to search for it in Google. I think today there's also an opportunity to start thinking about it. So when you type in, what's the best crypto conference in Manila, somehow magically on top it pops out AIBC by Sigma, you know? So I think, but this is like a bit far ahead, you know? So I think the value in public data, how you structure it, how you position it, there's an opportunity for you to show up as a top result on in a prompt, yeah?
Some marketing agencies are already offering that as services. I don't know if they're doing it successfully, but I've seen like AI SEO optimization as a service.
Yeah, can we just touch on that a little bit? Because I think that's super interesting. I mean, I've heard some people saying that in the future we will have no websites. Like, people are completely changing the way that they're going to interact with the internet. Like, people just go to ChatGPT now. You don't have to actually go to a website. So how are you seeing that change literally the face of the internet?
From one side, I've seen, I think it was Google that pushed a lot of updates with the search engine. And now on like the newer versions of Google, the first page is just like AI summaries. You see on the side the sources, but even like if you search the top 5 of something, in the past people would look at the blogs. The blogs would actually make money from the clicks and the ads. No one's going to be clicking into these websites anymore because you see it straight away on the front page. So I think when it comes to like people not having websites or not using blogs or whatever, I think where we'll see the impact most on is these companies which are regurgitating information on their websites or like trying to provide information. I think YouTube is going to be much more important. I think AI is actually going to look at YouTube in the future and other forms of media like social media, and I think it's going to be, again, based on your follower count a lot more than based on how well SEO optimized you are. I think that's where the pivot's going to be. It's going to be like more media focused and in terms of the amount of people you can get in front of, and that's how I think AI will pick the best options. That's just the logical assumption for me. I don't have any inside information, but yeah.
Andrea, Anton, do you have any thoughts on that in terms of how the internet is going to be different with AI?
Yeah, I can say that personally, I have started using more and more ChatGPT when I have a question, right? Or when I need some comparison and analysis. I don't go to Google anymore. And actually, it's a very simple reason, is that Google is still very convenient where you're searching for something very direct, right? Manila Metro, you know, I just type in and it actually...
And you know exactly what you need.
I know exactly what I want, right? But as soon as I say, well, is it better to go to Cebu Islands or to Boracay or to Palawan? Then actually you see that Google doesn't give you optimal results, right? Because the question is too complex. And also very interesting, I don't know if you notice it, the AI summary that Google gives you is the summary of the top search results. They're not the summary of your question, they're summary of the top search results. And it makes sense because you don't want to give the summary that contradicts your top search results, right? So that's why I'm actually, again, when I have a bit more complex question, I go to ChatGPT, who already knows me, by the way, and then I ask him questions, and I have easy follow-ups, and again, I can have easy follow-up questions, so I can scroll and look what I asked. Again, this doesn't appear in Google. So I think Google is at a crossroad. They're printing money. Google is probably one of the most profitable business models on the planet, but they're almost kind of, you see it's over actually, right? How fast this will happen, because they're still, I think they're making most of their revenues through to click ad, I mean, basically that you show up at the top with the sponsored search result. So I don't know, they'll have to change.
All right, we're running out of time, but bringing it back to crypto, I wanted to ask you how AI is changing the way that people discover dApps, interact with them and use them. And the reason I ask this, I heard this great story the other day about, now I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, but DeFi, like DeFi, but with AI, the intersection of the two. This idea that AI agents could actually be, scanning global markets, making trades on your behalf while you're sleeping, basically interacting with a whole range of different complex DeFi infrastructure, from wallets to bridges to DEXs, all things. Now, that sounds really interesting, because I think one of the problems with DeFi has been onboarding. It's just so difficult for a lot of people to learn how to use all of these different tools and platforms. So if AI can actually do what you need to do and interact with all those tools and platforms on your behalf, does that mean we're going to see, millions more on board to DeFi? Just interested how you see this happening. Like, do you think AI is actually going to help people onboard and use crypto?
I think yes, because they're gonna have a much more understanding of what's going on. And when we know the advantage of certain things, we tend to be attracted to those kind of things. And being able to access this kind of this kind of feature, I think some services can also utilize this in order for them to maximize what they can offer. And at the same time, I think it's better if we utilize AI in a way that it's useful, like a core logic for your project, and not just an additional, just like I said earlier. And I think it's better to have a clear understanding of what DeFi first before you transition to AI, because sometimes you're just gonna incorporate things and it's gonna mess up at the end of the day.
This is actually going to be one of the times I disagree, and it's remarkable that this is the first time I've disagreed on the panel today. Normally I'm quite contrarian. But I think the thing stopping people entering crypto and DeFi isn't the complexity of DeFi. I think it's the sort of reputation of the space, and it's the fact that people aren't interested. I don't know of too many people who tried to use DeFi. I mean, you can download Phantom Wallet in 2 minutes and use it, and you're technically using DeFi. There is already a lot of frictionless or easy to use items in crypto. What I think AI agents will help people do is people who are already part of the space, maybe to use features that they didn't used to use, like liquidity farming or things like that. But then at the same time, I do question how will it all work, because at the end of the day, an edge is only an edge if a few people have it. So if everyone's using AI agents with the same edge, I think that will make a lot of opportunities mute. Or like, will AI agents be competing against AI agents? Will everyone just be entering the same sort of pools, and we'll get massive Ponzi's from it? So I'm curious to see how that all works together. But I do think AI agents won't necessarily onboard new people. They will just help people who are already in the space use more complex features in DeFi.
Okay, then I will disagree with everyone here, with myself as well. So
spicy.
Yeah. So I'll share the following information. So as an exchange, right, you see actually where your clients are coming from. So you have data about that. And it's actually two sources. First one is actually KOL influencers and affiliates. So this is how people land on your platform, right? So KOLs, influencers, affiliates. And the second one is actually organic and paid social media content. This is how actually you end up with clients in the end, right? And that's why usually exchanges then optimize for that, right? So I kind of disagree with here, because I think in the end, I don't think it will be a decision of an AI agent. Where do you decide to onboard, which platforms you want to use? I agree with Daniel, this is about trust, right? If we're not trustworthy as an industry, trustworthy as a company, then I think no AI agent can help you there to onboard clients, right? But I think today you actually have AI influencers, or you have actually content created on social media that even you see a person there, but it's actually AI generated, right? With a story, with a very convincing content, but it's just not real at all, right? But it's usually it's funneling, all this traffic towards a website or a product, and then you buy and sell a product. So I think the AI, or maybe not in agent form, but AI will help you on the influencer side, right? To determine what is the right influencer, or to use an AI influencer, or to actually generate any AI-generated content on social media to attract that traffic and to get people on your platform. But I disagree now here with everyone. I think AI agents in the near future will not be onboarding clients, and that's why we as an exchange are not investing into that at the moment.
All right, we're nearly at time. Perhaps to close us out, I wanted to ask each of you, what is one AI use case that you're skeptical about and one underrated opportunity in the space?
So one that I'm not skeptical about it, but I think it's dangerous. It's people using AI to get medical advice. So yes. You can today upload, some, the same way when you type into Google, I have a fever and don't feel well, and the first result is like you're dying,
It could be nothing, or you might be about to die.
Yeah, you're about to die, and I have an ear problem, you're about to die, So I think like in the same way, I'm not saying it's bad, but I think it's just dangerous, right? And I'm also saying that both for individuals to do that, but also for professionals, to try to get quick results through AI. So I think that's a bit where I'm a bit scared. But underrated, I think definitely just day-to-day use by all of us, whether you're writing emails, reports, posting on social media, or getting your inputs, how you talk at the panel, underrated completely. Simple stuff, completely underrated still.
I think I'm skeptical about the NFT-generated avatars. Yeah. I think it's pretty cool, but it's not just very sustainable or scalable in the future. And as for the things that I think it's underrated, I think it's going to be the reputation-based systems. I think we need to dig further on those kind of things. And because eventually, if we're going to be dependent on some things, at least we have basis, right? How credible it is. So I think it can be utilized in so many industries right now, not just in the crypto side, but maybe on the cloud engineering or other different sectors and all.
So for me, one thing I'm skeptical about is like AI agents as businesses. I think ultimately everyone will end up using their own AI agent launcher. I don't know if anyone here knows about N8N, but you can create your own AI agent in like 5 minutes, and you can customize it to do what you want. And where I think the opportunity is for AI is for, I think similar to what Anton said, on one side is day-to-day life for everyone, but I think with AI agents, I think they can automate and they can basically be the task monkeys for you, whether that's in your day-to-day life or in your business. You can get them to do everything you need. That's like a basic input and output task.
All right, we're at time. Thank you so much. That has been such a fascinating discussion, and each of you came at all of these questions from such a different angle, so I've just learned so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.